You know, you've got a bad attitude. You need an attitude adjustment. With that attitude, get out of here. Isn't this statement, have y'all ever heard before? Now, what if you took somebody and somebody actually told you that and you asked them, well, tell me how to do it? Do you think they'd really be able to tell you how to change that attitude? I know most of them are sarcastic, aren't they? They're just telling you to get out of the way. Well, today we're going to talk a little bit about attitudes. And I've got a couple of friends here that are going to help me out. The first friend is this one right here. What is this? Thermometer, huh? Now, what does it do? Is it good for anything? What can it do? Temperature. Tells you the temperature. Anything else? What does it really do? Absolutely nothing. It's worthless. It can tell you it's too hot. It can tell you it's too cold. It can tell you anything. You know, I know a lot of people like that. A lot of people in our lives are just like this thermometer. They tell you what's wrong. They tell you they're not lending any money. Gas prices are too high. You can't afford a house nowadays. They tell you all the things that are wrong. But they're worthless. They don't do you any good. But I got a buddy living here in Yuma. We've got a special friend called a thermostat, huh? Y'all know what a thermostat is? The thermostat is a funny thing. This little guy has two sets of numbers. It has its own thermometer. Somebody might tell you, you know what? Your product's not going to work here. Or you can't do that here. Or whatever else they might tell you. But a thermostat has its own evaluations. It's got its own. It doesn't worry what other people say or think. It has its own evaluation. It's got two sets of numbers here. The second number is the thermostat. This thing has an attitude. It doesn't care if you tell it to go up 2 degrees or down 20 degrees. It's going to do what you tell it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you leave the door open. My mom might, your mom might, or your wife might. But it doesn't care. It doesn't care how high the electricity bill goes. It doesn't care if the engine burns out of the motor. It doesn't care if the fan. All it's going to do is once you set this thing, it's going to get there or die trying. Now that's the kind of attitude that winners have. They don't use other people's evaluations. They have their own. They're the ones that set the course and say, I'm headed in that direction and I'm going to get there. Now, how many of us actually have that attitude today? Don't answer, that's okay. But really, that's the winner's attitude. Just like a thermostat. I'm going to get there. See, the thermostat, it only asks its own thermometer 2 questions. And that's it. It asks, which direction? And am I there yet? And that's the only 2 questions it asks. And for your industry, what direction do you need to take? What evaluations are you taking today in order to get there? You follow me? This is a question that I want to ask each and every one of you. I've talked a little bit to each one of you before, just before we started. What is the evaluations that you need to make in order to get there? Wrong evaluations give you bad results. Great evaluations give you great results. One of the most important things that you can do is take care of yourself. The name of the program is called your SPAAM, S-P-A-A-A-M. It stands for yourself, your preparation, your activation, your actions, your accomplishments, and your multiplications. All that simply means is it starts from inside you and it eventually reaches to everyone that you want to reach. And that's what the program is about. It's teaching you how to get to the next level. What is it that you're trying to accomplish? It all starts with you, with your attitude. Do you have the attitude of a high performer? If you don't, you'll have it tonight. The second thing I want to talk about is your preparation. How many of you are familiar with this? It's a timer. What do we use the timer for? For what?
Cooking.
Cooking, right. What else?
Keeping track of time.
Keeping track of time, okay. Anything else? Time. Oh, that's a mom. That's a mommy speaking. Oh my.
That's mom with the TV.
I've seen them use it at, where they do their nails and stuff. They put little timers of when it's done. I've seen them on jacuzzis and things like that. But these things are fantastic, aren't they? They do absolutely nothing. They tell you when time's up, but do they do anything? It's got a buddy. It doesn't do anything. Now, in order for it to really work, though, you have to set it to sometime in the future for something that you want to do. You want it to remind you of something. You also have to set it at the appropriate time, and it has to make a noise that's loud enough for it to make sense to you, to remind you of what you want to do. Now, there's a variation of this one. It's this one right here. This one is for the week long. This is the kind you use on your lawn. I had a lawn at one time and had one of these set. I went away on vacation, came back a week later, and I was expecting the lawn to be that tall. And I was thinking, oh man, I'm gonna have to mow the yard. When I pulled up, it's around 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, the grass was dead. What happened? This wasn't working. And see, timers are great things when they're used, but again, they have limitations. The best timer in the world is your planner. I was teaching a college class here a few months ago. Actually, it was a year ago now. And I had 17 people in the class. And when I was there, it was a logistics class. And I asked everybody in the class how many people had a planner. One lady had a planner. Nobody else did. So I asked that lady to politely move to the side, and I gave the entire class to her. And after the class, I asked everybody else, I said, would you guys do me a favor? I was the manager for UPS. I did logistics in the Marine Corps. And I want to ask all of you one favor. Quit this class. If you can't run your own life, how in the heck are you going to run a logistics? Paychecks are going to be late. You know, one of the times in UPS, I actually delivered internal organs to the hospital. That person would have died if you'd have been in charge of it. You see, your planners are more than just a timer. They really can run your life. And I challenge you to be the best at your planner. I mean, you cannot hit your goals, guys, without a good planner. It's not going to happen. You can kid yourself all you want. But unless you have a set goal, a set plan, making it work for you, knowing, listen, you can have a 5-year goal. 5 years is 1,825 days. If you do what you're supposed to for 1,824 days, guess what happens on 1,825th? You hit your goal. But most people have no idea what to do today. What do I do today? That's where we specialize with planners. If you know what to do today. One of the things I'm not picking on anybody here. I'm just going to tell you how I usually say it, okay? Okay, I'll pick on you. Let's say Phil. Let's say Phil needs to lose 15 pounds. And he told me, Dave, I want to lose 15 pounds. I'd say, great. What are you going to do? Well, I'm going to lose 15 pounds. Well, how are you going to do it, Phil? Well, I'm going to eat better and I'm going to work out. Awesome. That doesn't get you anywhere. Well, why not, Dave? Well, you see, you have what's called goals. Then you have what's called strategies. And then you have what's called tactics. They're military terms. But the idea is you have a goal that you're attacking. Then you put strategies. That's where you take your resources. This is how much money I have. This is how much time I have. This is how much, all the things that I'm going to do. How much knowledge I have. And you have all those resources. And so once you put the resources together, then we can come up with tactics. Okay, now Dave, I'm going to do this lady's diet, and or I'm going to the Beachbody diet, or I'm going to, what is it?
Insanity. Right?
Insanity diet. Do this diet, and I'm going to work out 5 days a week, and this is what I'm going to do: cardio 6 or these particular. That's where planners come. If you're going to be successful in your business, you have to have tactics. That's the only thing you can do. You can't do goals. You can't do strategies. They're only about tactics. Follow me? Okay. Because the tactics, I'll give you a quick line. What I do is I actually make my plans out for the entire year. I know what my plan is going to be for this coming year. Then I break down the plans by the month. And then I break down the plans on what's called focus of the day. And then once you focus of the day, then you're able to do your tactics and find out what you're going to do there. The next letter here is called activation. Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, without ambition, one starts nothing. Without ambition, you don't start anything. Do you know anybody have you ever worked with anybody that just wouldn't get any work done? I mean, you just can't get them to go. You can't get them to show up to the meetings. You can't get them to show up. They'll buy one time or something and they just don't show up anymore. Where's that ambition? I mean, you spent a little bit of money or however much money. How do I get them to get there? It's called identity. You see, the very first thing in order to succeed that you have to do in order to get there is to create an identity. You see, if you don't believe you deserve it, you're never going to get it. In his book, Winning is a Choice by Rick Pitino, the very first thing he teaches his people is he works them to death, running back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until they're dead, and they still keep running. And you know what they do? He tells them that you are in better shape than any of our competitors. That in the fourth quarter, when it comes up, you're in better shape than anybody else. And they believe it because they've never worked out as hard. And he says, I don't really know if it's true if they're in better shape or not, but in their mind they are, because they've never worked so hard and they've never had anybody next to them work as hard. So the very first thing to succeed is to believe that you deserve it. I see everybody here, we all know what a cruise control is, right? A cruise control, if I told you, hey, we're going to Phoenix and we got to get there in about 4 hours, and we take off and we set the cruise control at 45. Are we going to make it? Not in 4 hours, huh? But what if I set it at 55? How about 75?
It depends if you take the cow road.
The dead cow road?
Get there a half hour earlier.
And what happens is every one of you has a cruise control. Whether it's in relationships, whether it's in money, whether it's in your ability to learn things, you have this cruise control that is set. And you set it, when we go up the mountains, you set that cruise control, and if it goes too slow, it speeds it up, going up there, doesn't it? But if it starts going down, it slows down. So no, this is too fast, this is too fast. And you've got a cruise control that does not allow you to get past the next level. Now, the good thing is your cruise control doesn't level below it either. You say, no, I'm worth this much money, or this is what I demand out of my relationships. Do you understand? But the fact of the matter is, if we raise that cruise control, then we can get to the next level. But you need to know that you deserve it. I have to believe that I really, really, really deserve this. There's 8 steps into deserving them. I don't have them. I won't explain them all right now. I'll explain one of them though. I had a driver with UPS. He was the number, all the drivers, there was I think 400 and something thousand drivers in UPS. The guy driver here in Yuma was number 22 out of all the drivers in the country. And there was a point that happened when they get their hourly wage, but then they get bonuses as well. And so what happened is we cut back on their bonuses because their hourly wage exceeded a certain amount. And so he came and told me, Dave, he says, that's it. I'm never going to work hard for you again. That's it. That's it. I'm never going to work that hard again. I'm just not going to do it. And I said, well, you know, and we started talking. I said, nope, that's it. And what happens is every day I would place the rankings of every driver in my center. There would be number 1, number 2, and so on down. I have about 35, 40 drivers. And he was always at the top. And he dropped to like number 5. And the next day he dropped to like number 7. And it was eating away at him because he knew he was number 1. And about 4 days later, he popped back up to the top. Why? Because he knew he was number 1. If you know you're the best, you do the best. If you know you're not the best, oh well, that's the best I can do. Are you the best? Can you do the best? Change that attitude. I am the best. There is nobody that can do it better than me. Nobody has worked harder than me. Nobody has knocked on more doors than me. No one has worked at it harder than I have. And I am the best. That attitude comes with hard work. And if you want to be the best, if you want to have high performance, you've got to put in the time. There's a lot of people who don't put in the time. And if they don't, they want something to happen. There's a word in Spanish, ojalá. Ojalá, you know what that means? Ojalá. It's I wish, someday, ojalá, right? And some people live off of that word. But are you really the best? I challenge you to put in the time. The next section is, a lot of people laugh about me, but I had the Mary Kay people say, all the men walk in with a briefcase, but Dave walks in with his toolbox. Because a toolbox is about work. There's no shortcuts. It's about work. Put in the time. Put in the work. Put in the effort. See, there's 3 tools you should always have. The first one is your very best tool. Should be you. I compliment all of you for investing in being here today. You're investing in yourself. That's the number 1 best tool. The second tool, I don't know what it is, but it's something that each one of you has, that your industry produces. And the third tool it's a first aid kit. Not really. But when you cut yourself, when you get hurt, you find a way to heal that. Every one of you is going to mess up on a deal. Every one of you is going to make a mistake. You're going to put the wrong order in. You're going to put something wrong. You're going to forget to put the order in, and somebody's going to be waiting for it. Somebody is going to mess up. You will mess up sooner or later, or somebody under you will. So you need to design a way to take care of the errors. You see, most of us, we don't mind people making mistakes. We just want them to admit it and just do something about it. Am I right? When you go to a restaurant and the food's terrible, what do? They comped it. It's a free meal. I like those. But I don't like that they mess it up. Now, do you have a built-in first aid kit? Do you have a built-in way to take it? I'm going to tell you something. This does a lot for your attitude. Because if you don't have a built-in first aid kit and you really messed up, you're like, and you panic, I don't know what to do, or no, I didn't do that, or you come with all these excuses. But if you have a built-in way of taking care of problems, the third best tool you have is finding a way to make things right. Sometimes it's in relationships, it's learning how to forgive people. Sometimes in business, it's you got to take a loss. Somewhere or another, I messed up. Sorry. Forgive me. Is there something I can do for you, sir? Is there a way I can make it up for you, ma'am? Is there something we can do? And most people are forgiving. Most people will get mad, but then you tell them, yeah, you did this. As you say, I'm sorry, sir. How can I make it up? And they say, you know what? Just let it go. Okay, I'm sorry. Just telling you. My apology. I blew it. I'll try not to do it again, but I'm really sorry. And you know what? People respect that. People respect you when you use your first aid kit. Let's talk about relationships for a second. Don't we hate liars? Don't we hate it when people lie to us and just don't tell us the truth? We know better. We know the truth. At least we think we do. But we know something ain't right, and we can tell when they're lying to us. But if they did use their first aid kit and say, you know what, I'm sorry, things would change. We would come back and say, you know what, how many times have we seen that with professional athletes? How many times have we seen that with political people? My timer. With political people. If they just come clean. The same thing is of high performers. We just come clean. If we blow it in real estate, if we blow it in performance, if we blow it with our product, if we blow it with, I know you've done it, I've worked with you, we find ways to do things right, to make it right. See, these 3 tools put you on course to be successful. But you have to change your attitude. You have to be willing to eat crow. You have to be willing to eat a little dirt. You have to be willing, and people will forgive you. I promise you, they will forgive you. Have any of you all ever had situations like that, guys?
Sure. You gotta be humble.
Yeah. And when somebody asks for forgiveness or apologizes or whatever, we say yeah. But we just want the truth. That's all we're asking. Tell me the truth. That's all I'm asking. So I'm challenging you, all of you. Whenever things go wrong, and they will go wrong, pull out your kit. Have it ready already. Set it up now. Make it up. Put it together and find a way to do it. Maybe in your case, you give them free product or, do whatever you guys got to do, but find a way. 3 tools. You, your best tool, whatever it is, and your first aid kit. And I promise you, business will do you good. Find a way. We all make mistakes. The next one is accomplishments. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about accomplishments. This is one of the greatest tools I've ever found for lack of motivation, for encountering tough times. I have 3 boxes, I'm blessed to say. There's times in my life, and I always pull it out at the beginning of the year, when I'm coming through and setting new goals and setting new plans. And sometimes it's been a couple of years since I really went through a real struggle mentally. But I tell you what I do. I go through these boxes and I find out all my plaques and I lay them out. Start looking at my trophy and say, yeah, Dave, Vice President's Club. Yeah, Dave, Executive Clubs. I have one here that I was given when I was working for Textron. And the little plaque fell off. It doesn't mean anything to anybody. The company's probably already forgotten about me. They don't care. I was nominated for Employee of the Year for the entire country. I was Employee of the Quarter for the 11 Western states. It doesn't mean nothing to nobody. But it does to me. When I die, it's going to mean nothing to my kids. But today, I can still look back and I can still lay these out. And I can still think back. This one right here I received is a meritorious mass in the Marine Corps. I received it March the 1st, 1979. This guy brags on me. I was fantastic. I'd like to read it all to y'all, but it'd take too long. I mean, it's really long. There's really good stuff about me. But the fact of the matter is that when you're encountering hard times, pull out your trophies. Pull out your plaques. Pull out your little notes and kits that people said there was something good about you. Pull out your emails. I've got a card that my mom gave me. She's passed away now, but she said I was the greatest son in the world. How cool is that, huh? There's 5 other guys that think they are. But I have my plaques. I have tons of stuff here. And there's times when I need to see that, guys. When I'm really down in the dumps. I have this friend of mine. She was released about a year ago. And I'm coaching her. And this is what I told her. I said, do me a favor. I said, lay down all your plaques, your memos, and everything on the ground. Lay right in the middle of it. Have your son stand up on a chair and take a picture of you with your cell phone. And every time that you're encountering tough times, pull out that picture and look at yourself. And remember, I told her to do 2 poses. Number 1 is hands like this and say, is that the best you got? And the other one is say, yeah, I can take it. I can take it. What does that do to you guys? It remembers, you remember the things that you won at before. And these help me, guys. These help me. I've gone through lots of struggles in many, many different ways. And yet, I found a way to win. And this is one of the best ways. I challenge you, go through all your stuff. Go back, if you live away from home, go back home, pull out trophies, pull out plaques, pull out medals, pull out any and everything you can, because someday you're going to need it. Someday you're going to need to pull it out and look at it and say, yeah, I was it. I can still do it. I can still do it. With this plaque, how many of you know what a best practice is? In the corporate world, there's a thing called best practice. What that means is if you do something really, really great, what they do is they post that as a best practice and tell everybody else, this is the way you win. This is the way you perform high. This is the way you do it. I had a best practice that tied right along with this baby. I won't tell you what it is, but I found a way to win. The company I was with had a 2.33 ROFE, which is return on funds employed. It was while I was a financer. And I got it at, I'm ashamed to say, but it was 6.66. It's not a good number, but I remember it well. But why? And they asked me, and they sent me to different places to go teach people, to go train people. What did you do, Dave? How did you get it up so fast? How did you get it up so high? What did you do? It was a best practice. So this thing reminds me of numerous different things. There's things tied to it. Yours will too. Somebody sends you an attaboy. Somebody sends something. I mean, when you have a diploma, when you have a degree, how much work did you put into it? You pull that thing out. When times are hard, you pull it out and you look at it and you say, yeah, I can do this. I can do that. And push on through. The next thing is what everybody came here for. You want to know how to influence people. How am I going to influence other people? I've got the answer for you. How many of you know what this is? Strip, you know, this is pretty neat, you know that. Let me read you the instructions. The first thing is, I have to take my glasses off to read, okay? It says, be sure to plug it into the wall. Isn't that funny? It's not going to work if you don't plug it into the wall, huh? Isn't that funny? I'll ask you, are you plugged into your vision? Are you plugged into that brand? Are you plugged into that? If you're not plugged in, how's anybody else going to get any juice out of it? If you're not plugged into the wall and drawing that juice and that current, how can any of your people get any juice? It's not going to happen. But if you do have juice, if you do have that current, if you do have that inside you, that fire that's burning, that's saying, I can do this, I'm going to do this, then the rest of the people can come right along for the ride. But don't expect other people to do more than you. Don't expect anybody to go further than you if you're not plugged into the wall. You know, some of these come in with three prongs and 2 prongs and stuff like that. This one has 3, so that's a little more stable. Have you ever plugged them into the wall and it's 2 of them and it's hanging and stuff like that? With a 3 prong, it doesn't. I suggest that you get a good prongs to plug into the wall. Something's going to be sustainable. Something's going to hold on to the juice. The second thing it says, do not coil the power cord when in service to prevent heat buildup. In other words, don't set limits on this thing. Once you're off and running, bro, let her run. Release the hounds. Don't tie it up. Don't make excuses. Don't find ways to just hold it back. That cruise control, you gotta let her rip. You got to turn that cruise control and says, I'm moving on up. This is a really neat tool, isn't it? Anybody use these on your computers and stuff like that? Aren't they great? Can somebody say that about you? Aren't you great? Aren't you the greatest thing that ever happened in my life? I love being with you. I love what you brought to me. I brought the product that you brought. I love the product. I love the fact that you brought it into my life. You helped me lose weight. You helped me take care of my life. You're helping me with issues in my face in different places. You're helping. People want to say great things about you. Give them the opportunity. Y'all see this little red button? What is the little red button for? Say again?
Off.
Off. It turns off. Why does it turn off on its own? Overload. See, one of the problems that we have is we overload people we train. We overload them with information or with work, and we don't give them the way or the methods to succeed. And so this little protector is designed there, and notice how it comes from the cord here. In other words, from the wall to here is you're the one that's protecting them. I've done it. I've given too much work to people who blew it. And there's really two kinds of failure in these type of people. There's some that just fall fast, and some of them that over time, they get drained, and they just have a power failure. And what ends up happening is that I thought at the time, well, maybe they're on drugs, or man, they're staying out too late partying. And I came up with all these reasons. And so we kind of judge them. And we're thinking what's going on because we don't really know. But it was my fault. I overloaded them with all kinds of stuff and gave them too much responsibility. And it was my fault. I'm telling you firsthand what I know. It can happen to your kids. It can happen to your spouse. It can happen to your employees. You regulate the amount of information they get. You regulate what they can take. You regulate what your customers and your people can take. And then you can succeed. But if you don't, then you don't have the power for them. They're going to unplug and go somewhere else.
So you got to be a surge protector.
You do. You do. You got to infuse the power, but you got to regulate it, friend. You're the one that has to decide. You know what? I could tell you more and more, and throughout the classes, I'm going to go more into detail in each and every one of these. I can give you the instructions on to how to fulfill all this. And I'll just give you one instance for this one, okay? There's 4 types of personality. You find the strengths and the weaknesses of that personality, and you as the leader adjust to that personality. And we'll go through that another day. But the fact of the matter is, it's our responsibility as the leaders to be able to regulate, to help our people. In closing, I just want to touch on them again. The first thing is yourself, your attitude. Become a thermostat. Make your evaluations. Do the right things. Nobody goes anywhere. You can spin your wheels all you want, put all the juice and all the power you have until you have a plan. You need to have a plan. Do the next 1,824 days what you're supposed to do. And I promise you, on the 1,825th, you'll be there. Don't do it. Take your chances. We talked about the toolbox, the first aid kit. Be real. We talked about your leadership, your ability to lead. Increase your leadership, increase your income. Increase your leadership, increase your influence. I believe that a great leader has the ability to manage his own energy and then transfer that energy to others. You see, great plans are great, but unless you have the energy to do it, nothing's going anywhere. And you create energy for people. So I want to thank you for coming. My name is Dave Gonzales again. I'm a coach and a consultant. I do business consulting and I do personal coaching. And I just want y'all to know that I appreciate everybody that came. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.